All right, folks, tonight we want to have a very big conversation, something that I'm very excited to share with you, to have with you today, which is this conversation about history and racism forcing America to confront her tragic past. And this is a conversation that we have often in bits and pieces, but not taking the time to truly look at what is going on, how there is major efforts right now that are happening across the country where black people and the history of black people are under attack. I want to look at this. I pointed out the fact that the Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, and I want to bring this up, so I want to make sure I'm saying this correctly. Here is a man who is the governor of a state. He's a Republican, but I don't care about none of that. I really don't. I'm talking about, because it's not even about labels. I'm talking about the level of ignorance. But he's all in on this anti-critical race theory type of ride. He went so far as to back a bill that would prevent any content that would make students or state employees feel guilt. I'm not lying, folks. To feel guilty about their individual identities. This is what this man is doing. You don't want to disrupt no one's view of themselves. Oh, don't put that out there. But damn it, Governor, we as black people, we've been dealing with this shit for a long time. And you worrying about the feelings of some state employees because you don't want to really face the reality and the truth. See, and we're going to get to my culture crew members in a moment. I got to say this, man. America is on a decline. And do you know why America is on a decline? And this is not something that I'm excited about. I'm not hooping and hollering because I live here. My family lives here. You live here. But you know why this country is on a decline? Because we can't face the damn truth. I mean, this country just lie, just constantly lie all the way. All the way. It makes me think about, I'm about to take y'all there, but I think we got to go there. It makes me think about the story of Moses and Pharaoh. When Pharaoh didn't want to accept the truth that Moses was preaching, and he had to get into the Red Sea, damn near drowning, before he finally said he submitted, that he believed the truth, that he believed the God of Moses. But look how far it had to go. He damn near had to, he's drowning. And that's like this country. This country gotta be curtailed, as the scriptures say, on all sides before she comes to the reality that she was wrong. And that's a sad place to be, because too many people are going to lose their lives. And when you withhold the truth from anybody, I don't care whether you're black or white, when you withhold the light of truth from anybody, you're killing them. You're killing them. Your ass don't need to be in public office if you're going to lie to the people about the history. You don't need to be in public office if you're going to lie to the people about their present condition, and then you're going to lie to us about how the future is bright. Bullshit. You can't. The future ain't bright because you lying. You keeping people in the dark the whole time. So this is what Governor DeSantis is doing. Glenn Youngkin in Virginia, the governor there, doing the same damn thing. He went as far as to create a tip line for parents. I'm not making this up, folks. He created a tip line for parents who object to the content being taught in schools. What the hell? We're talking about simple American history. 20 years ago, there was no critical race theory. It is what it is. It's like, this is the history. It is what it is. But you're now creating a tip line for people to complain about learning about the truth? And you're going to tell us. And I'm saying you telling black people in this country, just go along to get along. Go out here and vote. It's sadness. It's sadness. And we deserve so much better. And for those of us who are seekers of truth, we can't be quiet nowadays. We can't be quiet. I want to bring in my culture crew. I want to bring in writer, educator, host of Queen Talks with Nira podcast. You can hear that on all streaming platforms. My wife, Nira Muhammad. Nira, thank you so much again for joining us. Always good to have you. And we're also joined by my brother. He is an activist. He is an educator. And man, he's rocking and rolling, doing the grassroots work in the city of Baltimore and other spaces. Brother Elijah Miles. Brother Elijah, thank you so much, sir, for being a part of the show tonight. Making sure I can hear you. Brother Elijah, I got you.
Yes, sir.
Oh, great. Great. All right. Look, I'm all ramped up, dear. I'm fired up because we at a point right now. It's just an all-out war. It's like an all-out war right now because as much as people say light versus darkness, truth against lies, just the lies right now. The fact that you got people in this country, Niram, that really are saying literally cancel Black history. Like, what is this about?
Let me first start off with this quote by my guy, Dr. King. He says, "Nothing in the world is more dangerous than sincere ignorance and conscientious stupidity." Conscientious stupidity. First of all, I'm a lover of history. Let's just say that. I love history. I think that a tree without history, we're a tree without roots. I've said that before. So the fact that Black history has been turned into something called critical race theory. First of all, let me just say, as an educator, Black History Month was never about making white people feel bad. Even when I teach about Black History Month, I've never taught from the lens of making white people feel bad. This is about honoring the greats. This is about teaching our babies about the strong Black men and women who have come before them, because unfortunately, because of integration, so much of our history has been watered down and omitted from our educational system. So one of the things that I wanted to share from Carter G. Woodson, who, by the way, I studied urban education, elementary education at Morgan State University. And out of all the theorists that we learned about during education, the only Black theorist that we learned about was Carter G. Woodson. Let me just say that. He is the only theorist that we studied when studying education and theories and all these great philosophies that we learn about to even become an educator. Carter G. Woodson was the only Black person that we studied. Just throwing that out there.
Wow.
And he said, for those who have no record of what their forebears have accomplished, lose their inspiration, which comes from teaching biography and history. Who are we if we're not on the backs of our forebears? Who are we without all of the amazing Black men and women who have come before us, who have struggled to get us to where we are today? How dare we not honor them? So you know what? Down in Virginia and all these other states, one, we have to push back. That's some bull crap, that the fact that parents can call in and say, hey, I don't like that my kids are being taught Black history. But let me just say, it's not just Black history. In Virginia, they're also moving to remove Black history. They're removing to anything about the Holocaust. They're removing anything that has to do with the annihilation of the Native people here in this land. So this is not just about Black history. This is about anything that makes white people not look great.
That's crazy.
This is about making white people feel better about themselves. That's all this is. Literally, that's all this is about. And I want to just say, I've had the amazing opportunity to teach white children, to learn with white children. They were fine with learning this stuff. In fact, they wanted to learn this stuff. They didn't feel bad, and I didn't make them feel bad because I had no reason to make those babies feel bad. So that's just bullshit all around.
Absolutely. Elijah, when you see the efforts to cancel Black history, the way that we're seeing it in this country, and this is 2022, Elijah, we're not talking about 1982, we're not talking about 92, we're not talking about 2002 or 2012. 2022, we've had 8 years of a Black president. We got Black folks in leadership roles and from politics to education to arts and entertainment. I mean, across the board. Yet we're talking about canceling just teaching teaching other people in the world about the great contributions that Black people have made in America. You're talking about canceling that level of knowledge to children in schools in this country. All out war to me, brother. What's your take?
It's definitely war. It's definitely war. Neely Fuller said that if you don't understand white supremacy, what it is and how it operates, everything that you think you understand will only confuse you. And so I don't think it's so-called ignorance or stupidity. I think it's a direct assault on Black children. I think it's a direct assault on the minds of not just Black kids, but kids in general. I think it's a direct assault on our identities and the culture, because we know, whether it's psychologists or sociologists, we know that stories lay the basis of how we see ourselves and our identity. So we don't have a who am I or who are we without stories. But if you can control the stories that white people are told, you can control the stories that Black kids know, then you can control how they see themselves. And the issue with that is that when Black kids look at the murder rate in Chicago, or when Black kids look at the drugs in Baltimore or the things in Detroit, where Black kids look at the stuff that they see in their community without the stories, without the history, all you can conclude is, man, we ain't nothing.
Yeah, it is.
Nothing. But every effect has a cause. But if you hide the cause, then all you have as the effect is yourself. And so we look at it and say, man, we ain't nothing. We ain't never going to be nothing. And I agree with you, brother Faraji, that we have to know about Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey. And then we also have to know, and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, got to put him out there. But we also have to know about Mansa Musa and Mali. We have to know about Timbuktu. We have to know about the University of Sankore. We have to know about Hannibal and Carthage. We have to know about Kemet and Imhotep, the first multi-genius. We have to know about that stuff. Queen Nzinga, Yaa Asantewaa. We have to know about that stuff, because when we know about that stuff, it tells us our potential and our possibilities today. I would say one last thing.
Yeah.
Black kids knew the history and know all of the stuff that we have accomplished as the people. It don't matter the issues in Baltimore City or Chicago or Detroit. We know all of those issues. Wherever Black people are is light work to us. And we have accomplished so much yesterday that today we can get out of this. But without the history, there's no way out, because we've always been like this and we'll always be like this. And God made us inferior like this. It's the same thing they tried to do on the plantation. It's crazy.
Elijah, I was just thinking after what you said. Carter G. Woodson said the education of any people should begin with the people themselves. It should begin with the people themselves. If you look at so many other cultures anywhere around the world, their love for their native home, for their country, that pride, it is that patriotism, it is so strong because they learn about themselves. That love of their culture, their ethnicity, their beliefs, and all that makes their people who they are, that is ingrained in them from infancy. That is taught to them in schools. They read books that reflect who they are. So it is very, very important. And I do agree, this is not just about stupidity. I do believe that it is an attack, but you also have to look at the fact that this is not just attack on the Black community. This is attack on our Native brothers and sisters. This is attack on anyone who's been downtrodden by white supremacy.
No, I would agree with you wholeheartedly there for both of you, because I if we're talking about history, if we can't deal with the fact that Black people were brought over here through the Middle Passage, we can't talk about those things, right? I mean, that's an actual fact. That's not some Hollywood movie script. That's not some story written by somebody that you find in a book. That's actual fact. If we can't talk about the actual fact of a scenario, how the hell are we going to talk about the actual fact of any moment that we are experiencing, any situation that we're experiencing right now? We can't. I mean, that's crazy. It's mind blowing that you got. And I mean, it's not mind blowing that people are attacking us, because I truly believe that there are some people out there, and whether they're in leadership positions or not, they just don't like us. They just hate us. You know what I mean? And I get that. Okay, but I'm just saying, for us to be in a country where we have all of these rights and these freedoms, that we haven't gotten up to the point to fight this attack, not just within our own households, but I mean, communities, neighborhoods, cities, and states. There has to be an attack. And I mean, you're going to keep beating up on the people. Here's the thing, Brother Elijah and Nero, that gets on me. You're going to keep beating up on the people. What do you think the God of justice is going to do with that? I mean, look at America, folks. This is not a joke. Nero, you talked about, look at the condition of the Native American community. Look at the condition of the Latino and our Hispanic brothers and sisters. Look at the condition of Black people. And I mean, look at how oppressed we really are as a result of white supremacy. What do you think the God of justice, the universe that is built on the idea and the principle of fair dealing, which is justice, how do you think that's going to respond? How do you think Mother Nature is going to respond? I mean, this is, and that's why I'm saying this is so serious, because it gets down to the fundamentals and to the root of a human being. You're not even human when you deny people the light of truth and the light of knowledge. You become a savage. When you deny people to know who they are, even the Constitution. And I know people say, well, we can't use this as a basis, but this is where we are, so I'm gonna use this as a reference. But the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, even goes so far to talk about how you can't prohibit the light of knowledge and truth from citizens. There is a price to pay when you do things like that. And that's what I'm saying, Brother Elijah. There is a real price to pay. And I'm not saying that we're going to be the ones to bring in the revolution. We may be used that way. I don't know. That's the way, whatever the creator wants us to, the role to play. But I know that there's a price to pay, because the universe is built on truth. The universe is built on justice. The universe is built on equality and freedom. Those are natural laws, immutable truths. There's a price to pay. And that's what I'm saying, Brother Elijah. There's a price to pay. See, people think we can't get into the space of just thinking, oh my gosh, it's just about politics. No, there's a real price to pay, because then you are setting your own children. You may not, Mr. DeSantis, you may not feel the price, the consequences, but your grandchildren will. Your nieces and nephews, those who are coming behind you, Mr. Youngkin, they will. They're going to feel that because of your ignorance and stupidity and because of your savage thinking. Brother Elijah, go ahead, talk to me, brother.
Man, I would say, man, you're right on with all of this stuff. And we do have to fight back any way we can. Because when you control a people's knowledge of history, you control their destiny. Because history is the guidepost to a people's destiny, as Marcus Garvey teaches. So it's a control over destiny. Where we go as a people will be determined by our knowledge of history. And so when you are fighting back against our understanding of history, our very understanding of the world around us and how we got to where we are, and you control white people's understanding of history, then it puts us back in a place where we are going to stay in our situations that we're in right now perpetually, or we just won't have the tools to fight against them that we used yesterday. But when you give him Malcolm X and Marcus Garvey and Muhammad Ali and all these great people before you, you say, dang, to be a real man, to be a real woman, a Black man or woman is not just to rap or play basketball, but it's to be a part of the progression of my people. And just how they sacrificed for me yesterday, I'm going to honor them by sacrificing in some way, shape, or form to get us forward today. You can't do that. You're not even grounded in real purpose, collective purpose, without an understanding of history. And they're trying to rob us of all of that. And we got to fight back to make sure our kids know who they are and make sure all kids know the history of this country, which we played a big role in creating.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Folks, we're going to take a quick pause. When we come back, we're going to check in with the director of the Fannie Lou Hamer Institute. We're going to talk to the director, Brother Baba Akili. We're going to give us some insight about the state of the reparations movement, because just as much as we talk about CRT, just as much as we're talking about pushing forward some type of legislation, we do need to talk about the repair that needs to be that needs to take place in order for us to move forward in this country. We need to be repaired. This country needs to be repaired, and we're going to have that discussion. So stay with us. We still got a lot to get to in this first hour of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network.
Verizon just gave us all a brand new iPhone 13.
We've been customers for years.
We got iPhone 13s too. Switched 2 minutes ago, literally right before this.
iPhone 13 on us on any unlimited plan for every customer, with plans starting at just $35. All on the network more people rely on.
Love our new Alexa.
It's a Buick.
Yeah, Alexa.
Buick.
Alexa.
It's a Buick.
It's an Alexa. It's a Buick. It's an Alexa. Coach, that's a Buick. That's an Alexa.
The Buick Enclave with available Alexa built-in.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show, Get Wealthy, focuses on the things that your financial advisor and bank isn't telling you, but you absolutely need to know. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
I love y'all. All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Folks, we've been having a very, very robust conversation as we talk about history and reparations, confronting America's tragic past. We're talking about these things. Of course, this is Black History Month, but more importantly, we're seeing that there is an all-out assault on Black history, of understanding the truth. There's an all-out assault of on the contributions that Black people have made. But there doesn't seem to be too much of an assault on repairing the damage that was done. That's why we're so happy to be joined by our first guest for tonight. He serves as the director for the Fannie Lou Hamer Institute in Los Angeles, and he is also one of the conveners of the virtual community meeting and town hall Reparations Beyond Equity. Now, this reparations meeting took place back on January the 29th. It also included Black Lives Matter Los Angeles chapter and the National African American Reparations Council. We are so happy to be joined by now Baba Akili from the Fannie Lou Hamer Institute. Baba, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. How are you?
Thank you, and I'm glad to be on, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely, Baba. It's an honor and a privilege and a pleasure. And I wanted to bring you on just because, as we're having this conversation about how there are efforts to cancel Black history, as another part of that is that there's a reparations discussion, right? There is a growing reparations discussion. I have been in talks with one of the, I would say, leading scholars on reparations, my good brother, Dr. Ray Winbush. We've had many conversations about reparations, and when I had my radio show, and we're going to have more here on this platform. So I'm telling you up front, Baba, you are always welcome to be on this platform, dear brother. You got a space here. But when we look at this conversation around reparations, oftentimes the narrative is rooted in money. in my opening remarks, I'm saying we need to get past the money. There is something inherently valuable about talking about repairing the damage that was done to a people. Can you speak to that?
Absolutely. And one of the things I do want to do is kind of, I want to make clear, I'm on the board of the Institute of the Black World. And the Institute of the Black World is the convener of the National African American Reparations Commission, NARC. It is the experts on reparations and has been working with NCOBRA, which is the oldest organization that it's been around since 1987, working on the issue of reparations. And so what I and others did with the Fannie Lou Hamer Institute, I was invited to, excuse me, I was invited to a national symposium on reparations in Evanston, Illinois. And because it's the first city that actually is paying reparations to descendants, and in some cases, well, descendants of Black folks who were discriminated against and displaced in Evanston, Illinois. They get $25,000 to put down on a home, to put down on a down payment for a home, or repair their home. Because what they studied was what harm was done to us as Black people between 1911 and 1969, and they decided on housing as a way for reparations. So it is certainly about making repairs, repairing the harm, and also acknowledging the hurt, harm, and damage that was done to Black people. And so one of the things that the NARC has, the National African American Reparations Commission, is a 10-point program that looks at not starting with acknowledgement, apologies, and then moving to 9 other areas that can be invested in. And part of what we did with our reparations town hall was we had small group meetings after the larger plenary with some dignitaries like Julianne Malveaux, Dr. Maulana Karenga, Dr. Ron Daniels, and Robin Rue Simmons, who is the retired alderperson from Evanston, who had the vision and fought for reparations for Black people in Evanston. So we had a very lively discussion, a very informative discussion. Then we broke down into small groups, and we asked people, what do you think reparations should go for? How should it be developed? And then we talked about funding sources. And where do you think it should come from? In Evanston, they decided to create a $10 million program from the sales of cannabis. That's how they're.
Oh, wait a minute, hold on, Bob. And now we getting into something real deep on this one now. We getting into something real deep. You're saying the sale of cannabis, the way they set that up in Evanston, Illinois, the sale of cannabis allowed them to get the process started.
Yep.
Paying reparations from the sale of cannabis.
Yep.
Wow.
And in large part, I mean, they looked for resources. They looked for funding. And that was one of the places that they saw that we have, the whole war on drugs was a war on Black people. It's a war on Black people. And so they felt like it was fitting to take the so-called war on drugs, which was really a war on us, and take the resources from that and apply it to reparations. And they're getting $10 million. Wow. And they're going to be, and that's one of the places in around the country where Black people are actually getting reparations. One of the things I would encourage you to do and ask you to consider in future programs, one, and I'll certainly share this with you, is bring on Dr. Ron Daniels with NARC and Sister Robin Rue Simmons, so that they can talk about in detail about the 10-point plan that NARC has, and how it is that Evanston was able to, within 2.5 years, develop, create, and implement reparations in Evanston, Illinois. I think it's a great learning experience. And I was so enthused by it that I came back to LA, and we talked with the Fannie Lou Hamer Institute about, starting the year. What did we want to start on? And it was raising up this issue of reparations, educating people about it, because, the issue has come and gone a couple of times over the years. And sometimes over those courses, Black people have been discouraged to even think and talk about reparations. It's like, oh, that ain't gonna never happen. And so we've kind of accepted that. But then in the past, I don't know, 6 or 7 years, it's come around again. I think with Ta-Nehisi Coates' book, I think the work of NARC and COBRA and other groups has pushed it to the forefront again. I mean, there's been legislation in Congress since 1989 that was introduced by the late Congressman John Conyers to H.R. 40 to study reparations. This current H.R. 40 not only creates a commission to study the harm, damage, and hurt that was done to Black people because of enslavement, but to talk about implementation.
And Baba, that's what I was going to ask about very quickly. How far are we? Because there was some point, I remember, I think it was maybe last year or probably 2019, but sometime before COVID, there was more. It seems like that piece of legislation was getting some traction. You saw more Black Democrats, for example, who were signing on and pushing it and saying, look, we need to have it. Like you said, it established the commission. So I'm wondering, how far politically is this issue going?
Well, certainly in Congress, and like I said, it's been introduced every year since 1989. And in those years, through those years, it couldn't even get out of committee. This year, for the first time, it's gotten out of committee. It's got 195 co-sponsors.
Wow.
And which is more, we've never had more than about 40 co-sponsors, 45 co-sponsors in all those years since 1989. This time we have 194. There was a great hearing that was held by Sheila Jackson Lee, who is now the author of H.R. 40, where she had Ta-Nehisi Coates, Dr. Julian Malveaux, a number of very prominent reparations experts and academics talking about the need for reparations, the meaning, value, and impact of reparations, and so it caught some steam. And then, unfortunately, and I say this unfortunately, then the whole George Floyd issue came up, and once again, and I say unfortunately, it takes Black death to awaken white folks. You know what I mean? Because we have been struggling, certainly, and Black Lives Matters has been around now going 8 years. We have been, raising our issues in the streets and the rest. But it took the death of a Black person, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery. It takes our death to move white people to some level of consciousness about, wait, maybe things ain't right here. Maybe we need to do something here. But that's a heavy price for any people to pay. And what I find I was going to say ironic, but it's almost 100 years since the Red Summer of 1919, where Black folks were just killed indiscriminately, and 100 years since the massacre in Tulsa. So that's a heavy price, a very heavy price for any people to pay to get a society that they help build and contribute to accept our presence here. One of the things I heard you all talking about is the attempted erasure of Black folks, just before we started this conversation. And for me, there are 4 conditions that Black folks have to deal with: white supremacy, institutional racism, individual bigotry, and mass denial.
Wait a minute, hold on, Bobby. You know I gotta. You taking us to school right now, dear brother. So you know.
but no, these are my observations, and they're your observations.
Can you give us those four? I love those. I love it.
Well, think about it. White supremacy first. That is,
Yes,
whites thinking they are, they're superior, and then they create institutions to reinforce that thinking. So we have institutional racism. And then they individually support the institutions. So we have individual bigotry. And then we have mass denial. White folks today, even the Klan is denying that they're racist. They're just upholding their heritage. And so the mass denials allows the individual bigotry to exist. The individual bigotry supports the institutional racism. The institutional racism supports white supremacy. And so they're all linked together, and as we look at racism, the denial and deprivation of a people's history, humanity, and right to freedom based exclusively upon race, you can see what's happening here. In many ways, we have gone through, at least my observation, we have gone through a kind of cold civil war, and you could see it happening when Obama got elected. And you can see the results of it now. And we're kind of shifting into the second Reconstruction, if you will. Think about and look at the historical patterns that we see existing now. Look at the Obama administration, the South rejected Obamacare, even though white people would benefit from it. They rejected it in large part because they didn't want black people to benefit from it. And you look at how they attacked President Obama, and then you can see the backlash, if you will, today. And this whole effort at erasure that you can't even talk. As a matter of fact, we in Black History Month right now. If you let DeSantis and the governors from most of the Confederate states and some of the more conservative states in the country, we won't have Black History Month next year.
Right.
Because
Robert, that's why we brought up the conversation. I want to get us started. I want to get us organized for next year.
Yeah. And we're gonna have to, and if we're gonna keep Black History Month, you can almost hear it now. Well, why do they? I mean, we've heard it many years before, but why did they have to have a designated month? Can't we just talk about all of American history? I mean, and that's also a part of the denial. That the denial that there is any racism in this society. Can't we just be one big society? And when we say that, what you do is you erase us. When you talk about color neutral and all those kind of terms, you erase us. We get left out. We get dismissed. And so part of what reparation does is brings us to first the meaning, value, and impact. The meaning of reparation is to repair, to restore. The value of it is it contributes to making a people whole that has been harmed and hurt. And then the impact is it contributes toward, at some point, at least closing the wealth gap. We talk about it now, but we got to close it. And one way to contribute to it being closed is through reparations.
Baba, I know your time has with us is short. But again, I want to say first and foremost, thank you so much for being on the show with us today. You are always welcome. I want to take you up on that offer, of bringing Dr. Ron Daniels onto this platform, because I want to put it at the forefront of our people's mind, the seriousness of this. And I think, in this time that we're in, with this level of assault from legislation, from the attitudes that people have about Black history and Black life and Black culture, and especially about Black bodies, we can't afford to not constantly be reminded of how serious it is for us to get involved in this struggle, in this work.
I agree.
We have to constantly be awakened. And I love your 4 points, because even us, you saying that that's for white people, but I can think the same way for Black people. White supremacy, we get into a space of institutional racism. We're like, no, we all diverse here. We go through a place of individual bigotry. Oh, I don't like them over there. Those them crazy Black folk, because they talking about we good over here. and then mass denial, where some of us live in better homes, and so we start to believe I'm good. The police don't pull me over because I live in this neighborhood. And we need to be reminded that nothing has changed, unfortunately, in 2022 America. So, Bob, I appreciate and love you. Thank you so much, brother.
And thank you so much. And we need to be having these conversations with each other. They are tension-filled. And as one of the things that that Patrice Cullors talks about in her new book, and a quick plug for it, Abolitionist Handbook, is courageous conversations. We need to have courageous conversations with each other about what we think of each other, how we regard each other, how we support each other, how we sometimes don't support each other. One of the things that's happening now, and I'm going to have to run, but is that the Black Lives Matters and the Black liberation movement is under attack. Its leadership is under attack in large part because they're women, and seriously, and because we have been successful in changing the narrative, in having the discussion. We took a simple statement like Black Lives Matters and has turned it into a movement where people are saying, yes, Black Lives Matters. And because Black Lives Matters, we demand reparations. Yes, Black Lives Matters, we demand an end to police violence. Yes, Black Lives Matters, we demand an end to state-sanctioned violence in all its forms, social, political, and economic. And so we've took a statement like that, Black Lives Matters, and turned it into a movement. And we know, and we should remember that when we fight, we win. And so we're going to have to constantly fight. We're going to have to constantly be on shows like yours and use platforms like these to make sure, one, that our voices are heard, two, that our understanding is shared, and three, that we engage and involve our sisters and brothers in the fight back as we continue to be successful. So I thank you for giving me this time to share, and I look forward to returning and sharing more with you.
Absolutely. Baba Akili, director of the Fannie Lou Hamer Institute. Baba, we appreciate you and I love you. Thank you so much for the work and continuing to keep us posted on the struggle. Thank you, brother.
All right. Thank you.
Folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come back, more conversations about it. Many of you have already checked in on our YouTube and Facebook page with your comments. We're going to have those comments. We're going to continue the conversation with our culture crew members, Elijah Miles and Nir Muhammad, and so much more in the next hour. So stay with us. It's The Culture, only on the Black Star Network.
How about sushi?
I just had sushi for lunch yesterday.
How about tacos?
Automatic emergency braking, one of 6 advanced safety features standard on every 2022 Chevy Equinox. Find new technology, find new roads, Chevrolet.
We're all impacted by the culture, whether we know it or not. From politics to music and entertainment, it's a huge part of our lives, and we're going to talk about it every day right here on The Culture with me, Faraji Muhammad, only on the Black Star Network.
Are the only bins that will accommodate larger overboard.
They put 10 in here?
10, and you don't come out till you die. And you eat him, you poop him.
Oh my God.
Welcome back to the show, folks. We've had a phenomenal first hour as we talked about history and reparations confronting America's tragic past, having a discussion about everything from the efforts to cancel Black history to getting an update about the state of the reparations movement with Baba Akili, who serves as the director of the Fannie Lou Hamer Institute in Los Angeles. Now, I want us to continue to have this conversation because so many of you have been checking in on both our Facebook and YouTube pages and in other places. But I think we need to have another part of this conversation, especially since Baba Akili just dropped some jewels for us this afternoon. And I thought maybe let's dive into this. So I want to bring back my culture crew members, Nira Muhammad, who is a writer, an educator, and host of Queen Talks with Nira podcast, and my brother Elijah Miles, who is an activist and the founder of Tendea Family, as he serves as the chairman. Nira, Elijah, wow. When we talk about reparations, there's a lot to talk about. And one of the big things I was listening to as I was hearing Baba Nira is the fact that it's not about money. I said this, but he just drove home the point for me. It's really not just about the money.
Yeah, I would have to agree. It's not just about the money. It's about the fact that it's recognition, it's reparation, repairing. And of course, we can never truly repair all the damage that was done, but just acknowledging and even, I feel like reparations in some ways are an olive branch. When it was given to the Japanese, it was seen as an olive branch. When it was given to surviving members of the Holocaust, it was seen as an olive branch. I really love when he mentioned that the sales of marijuana has been used to pay back some of those reparations. I think that's a big thing. What was her name? Is it Cynthia Nixon from Sex and the City? I think she mentioned that a few years ago, and she got a lot of flack around that. And when she mentioned it, I was like, bruh, that's actually a dope idea. Why not? To be honest, I mean, I know personally when I go to the dispensary, I don't see a lot of people that look like me. I don't. I see a lot of people that look like me struggling to try to purchase marijuana. I see a lot of them going to jail for marijuana. Mm-hmm. So to see it become this new trendy, cool, hippie thing, you're in the dispensary and I'm just like this only Black girl in there. And it's just like, oh yeah, try this, try that. And I'm just like, damn, when did we become cool? Right. Because I feel like in my community, it's always been looked at as a negative. Oh, you smoke weed. That means you don't want a good job, But just thinking about the fact that here's something that has plagued the Black community, but can actually be used now to help repair the Black community. And that's why I wanted to bring it up, because I thought that was very, very strong. I think that if you're talking about money, that's a good place to start. We're always promised all these things. Oh, if a casino comes into our neighborhood, it's going to be used for education or reparations. And we don't ever see that happen. So it would be nice to see something fruitful come out of those dispensaries and actually start seeing some funding being put back into the Black community, whether it's canceling student loan debt, whether it's giving us money to put down payments on a home. Those things are impactful.
No, I would agree with you wholeheartedly. It's like the dispensary becomes this disposable income, like a little extra money you find in your pocket that you didn't know that you had. And you're like, wait a minute, I can put this money to good use.
I found $15 in my mom jeans for yesterday. I was like, thank you, mom jeans. Thank you. And I bought a cupcake.
Right, you bought a cupcake. Put to good use. But I mean, and I agree with you that we're not thinking, and this is the big thing about this part, Elijah, that we're not thinking, or it doesn't seem to be, and I mean, Evanston is a small city in Illinois, it's right outside of Chicago. But it just doesn't seem like leaders are thinking creatively to say, how could we possibly make this happen? And that's the part for me that is disturbing. It's like, wait a minute, you mean all these brilliant minds in public office, down city halls and in the state capitals across this country, and we're not thinking creatively. We're not thinking, okay, we are stretched on the budget on this place. We can't use this money. We're not thinking creatively to say, but we still got to repair the damage. Where could this money come in? Just something as simple as, okay, if you were to propose that if you live in a city or a town and you say, okay, just as much as the government takes taxes out of your paycheck, imagine if the government says, hey, out of every paycheck that you earn, $1 is going to be taken for the reparations fund. Just something small like that, right? How much money can be accumulated? And I'm just making those numbers up, saying $1. It could be less, it could be more. But Elijah, just thinking outside of the box to start the process to repair the damage. Why is that not happening in your estimate?
Because America doesn't want to face what is done to us as a people and how they play a role in everything that they complain about in the Black situation today. And so I agree that reparations is not just about money. It's a question of justice. It's a question of striving to do something to repair what was done. And the issue is that when it comes to reparations, before the pandemic, a lot of people were saying they didn't have it. We don't have it in the budget. America don't have it in the budget to be able to pay for reparations. But what's interesting is during the pandemic, everybody got a stimulus check. And it was like, well, you do got the money. You just don't want to use the money towards the justice for Black people. And so reparations, it has to be put on the agenda. And us as Black people, we can't fight against reparations. It doesn't matter. We can't fight against reparations. It doesn't matter whether or not we believe is going to get it. We have to be for reparations if we're for justice. So we have to support reparations for Black people. And I would say this, a lot of the guilt and shame that the children of former slave masters feel in America is as a result of the lack of justice. Because it's not just that slavery happened or segregation happened, it's that you reading and learning, and these white kids are learning that we did nothing about it. Your country did nothing about it. Yeah, we just put y'all in freedom. And so they walk around with guilt and shame because everyone knows that they haven't given justice to Black people, and everyone knows that part of America is complicit in all the issues of Black people all around the country.
Absolutely, absolutely. I want to just share with you just some of the comments that folks are posting on our YouTube chat. And folks, you can continue to post your comments, and we're going to try to just acknowledge them as many as we can. But T. Smaller said, look, we need reparations because of poor money management and no true leaders. But it is true, we do have the world's largest spending power. Our dollar only circulates within our community for 6 hours. And you know, Elijah and Nira, y'all both know, we all know that, you know, when they started to do that study about how long the dollar lasts, we put it like the black dollar. It's not the black dollar, it's just the dollar. You know? The black dollar, no. So, but they're saying that, look, it only lasts in the community for hours. But we're so bent on this getting a check. And Elijah, you brought it up. You know, we saw what happened during this pandemic. The United States government said, we will make a way for people. And look, I'm not mad. Some people are really crazy and say, man, we shouldn't have gotten no check. No, we should have gotten checks. People are out of work. Families needed it. I'm not mad about that. But what is stopping the country from doing a consistent, regular rounds? You know, Nira, you and I have talked about this before in other countries where even during the height of this pandemic, I mean, it wasn't too much off of the backs of these governments to stay, okay, during this whole period. Now, we're 2 years in, during this whole period of the pandemic, there are other countries that are still paying families just on basic principles of, we know we're back to work, we know your children are back in school, but here's something to keep you going. Just a little, I don't care if it's $600 a month. Something can be given.
When I looked at the numbers, as an example.
Go ahead.
Yeah, when I looked at those numbers, because you and I had that conversation. One, I will say this, not in America's defense, because I don't want to defend our country, but our population was much larger than those countries that were able to do that. So I'm just throwing it out there.
Good point.
So it's a lot different. But I mean, again, like Elijah pointed out, why repair the damage when you're trying to erase it? We're talking about reparations. They're trying to erase our history. So we gotta, like, reparations might have to get tabled for a minute, because right now we're at war with even keeping our history alive.
Well, so if that's, since
like,
that's
how
the case,
how are we supposed to fight both?
Well, we have to. I mean, you have Bob.
No, I'm not saying we don't need reparations, but Faraji, we're at a place right now where they're trying to erase our history. If they erase our history, they're gonna be like, well, what do we need to give you reparations for?
Well,
we didn't do
here's the
anything
thing.
wrong. We
You
did
know,
nothing wrong. Why are we giving you money?
Well, I think here's. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying we have to really keep that at the forefront because this is a big issue. To wake up and see a news headline saying that, oh, we're trying to erase Black History Month. That's an all-out attack simply on our history. And that has nothing to do with critical race theory. That has nothing to do with slavery. Black History Month has nothing to do with that shit. Let's just put that out there. Black history, as we mentioned, is all about highlighting the contributions of the black diaspora, period, across the world, across the globe. So if you're just trying to erase our history, why would you give us reparations? That's the point that I'm making. They don't see the point.
Here's why. And I've said this on Roland's show, and I'm going to say it on this show. There is a science in the demand. There is a science in the demand. And what I'm saying by that is that if we don't at least demand it, if we don't at least put it out there, something that I've always remembered, I know both of you have seen this on the back of the Final Call newspaper, the official newspaper of the Nation of Islam. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad has a number of demands. He says, first, what do Muslims want and what do we believe? He said, in the what the Muslims want, for example, he brought up the fact that we wanted separate territory of this country for our own. Now, that's a demand. He said, we want that. He put that out there. Why? Even though he put that out there and then at the same time still talked about the fact that you're dealing with a country that don't want to do right, a government that does not side on right. There is a science to putting a demand out there to show the hypocrisy. And at the same time, not just showing the hypocrisy of how this country says that they really want to do something on paper, but don't do it in real life and in action. The science of the demand is that if you really care about your people as much as you say you care, then guess what? Why not do this? Now,
I don't know, Fraudgy. I don't think I want to see reparations in the form of money. You literally just mentioned that the black dollar only stays in our community for 6 hours. So we get this money, we get these reparations. What does it do for us in the larger picture, on the larger scale? I think that's for me. I'm wrapping my mind around what reparations look like, what it does for the Black community, what we do with those dollars, how it propels us to the next level. So I'm not saying we don't deserve reparations. I do believe that we do deserve reparations. I just want us to be very strategic in what we're asking for.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. And Wes, one of the big things, Elijah, that I've had a few conversations with Dr. Ray Winbush. He's the author of Make America Pay, and he talks about the reparations, one of the leading scholars of reparations, of the reparations movement. And one of the things he offered and proposed in saying that, look, reparations don't just have to be checks. Reparations can simply be allowing the next generation to go to Ivy League schools for free. Reparations could be land ownership. See, when we're talking about, one of our watchers, Christopher, said multi-generational reparations equal generational wealth, direct cash payments for 25 generations. It's the only way. I'm talking about multi-generational payments or generational wealth. I would rather for Black children who are the sons and grandsons and the great-great-grandsons and of the descendants to go to, why can't you go to Harvard for free?
Hey, I'm all for it.
Why can't you go to Yale for free? Why can't you own, what happened owning? You don't need 40 acres. Give us 1 acre. Give every family who has the capacity, give us 1 acre of land. And say, okay, here's your 1 acre, good fertile ground. It's worth this amount of money. And then we'll support you for 20 years.
Man, Faraj, a lot of Black people gonna be like, I'm selling it. I'm selling it.
I hope not.
Land. You want to take me? I'm gonna let Elijah take over.
Even if, Nara, it's still the question of justice. It don't matter if we throw it all back. The point is you owe it to us. You know what I mean? And it was a question early after slavery. It was a lot of people that were trying to keep us in slavery because they would say the Black man, the Negro, the nigga is not ready for freedom. And then when we got out, they're not ready for the right to vote. They're not ready for education. And so the argument right now against reparation is like black people ain't ready, they're not going to do the right thing. That's not a question. The question is, you owe us it. So calculate it and give it, because that is justice. It's justice. And so I
think
do
it just breaks my heart that I feel like it's gonna go right back into the white community. I just feel like,
but I get you.
Even when I look at black successful people, we equate success to white shit. Like, if I'm successful, that means I need to have some white shit. Like, I gotta have Gucci, I gotta have Louis, I gotta have Chanel. I don't even look at success looking at a black, and there are a lot of black brands that are luxury. I personally try to seek them out and purchase from them. But it's just sad. It's like you have to beg your own to even support within the black community. And I feel like that's just what bothers me. It's like, okay, we're going to get this money and then we're going to be broke again. It's like the people that win the lottery that typically take the payout all at one time. There's studies that show that typically within the first 2 to 3 years, they're broke. Millions of dollars gone.
That's the truth.
I just don't want that for our people. That's all I'm saying. I just want something better.
I agree. But that's why also on the back of that final call is the question, is land. Is land. You owe us land. And if we can own, like, the major cities in America should be owned by black people. They populated by black people. And so it didn't have to be a land question. But I think we have to push for reparations because it's justice. And you owe it to us. Now the problem is that we have to be organized enough as a people to be able to do the right things with it. That's the truth. But in order for us to be organized, we have to agree on some principal things. One is, yes, the reparations across the whole black community. But the point is that we can't get organized without organizations like the Nation of Islam or the organizations that pass by. All these organizations like the Bible that just represent organizations. All these organizations are underfunded and they underrepresented. And so also a problem is why we're not unified, because our community don't have a center. So if you're Jewish, you have a synagogue. If you are Arab, you have a mosque. But for us, we all over the place and can't agree on, yes, the reparations, because we don't have our center. And if we had a center that was funded, a cultural center, that we exist to culturally orientate and give us our values and give us our goals and give us history, whether education gives us it or not, it'll put us in the right place. I would say this: I personally don't want our kids to go to Ivy League schools for free. I think we need our own schools to be funded in the same way that right coming out of slavery, HBCUs were created. And I think all this stuff when it comes to education is going to be represented in all these educational institutions. So we need to think about reparations in the form of land, in the form of institutions, in the form of cultural centers that are funded by the government that owe us.
No, and you know what, Elijah? That is the big part of this, that they owe us. We know it. And look, people are checking in on our YouTube page, and that's exactly what people are saying, that yes, Queen Sugar said reparations need to come in all forms, monetary, land, etc. We can decide what to do with it. They owe us. Look, you got brilliant, and Queen Sugar, I appreciate your comment, but you got brilliant people like, we're going to, may God be, with us to get this, to make this effort happen. We're going to bring on Dr. Ron Daniels. I got to reach out to my brother, Dr. Ray Winbush. I'm going to be reaching out to people because guess what? You do have people in our community, scholars and professors and scientists, bankers and lawyers, that if we come to the table and say, okay, we can make this happen. Baba talked about Sheila Jackson Lee. I know that there are other lawmakers that are trying to push this new revised version of HR 40. Look, it has to be a unity, a community effort. It has to be, to bring it to the table. And this is not a conversation saying we shouldn't have it. It's a conversation I think about whether how should we get it? How should we get it? How should we strengthen our demand? The Bible said back in the day, HR 40 only got about 40 votes. Now we're up to 195 votes. So what happened? The culture has changed. The view of race in America is changing. The sentiment is changing. So if that's the case, then we gotta keep our foot on the gas and up the ass of somebody to let them know, like, we're not going anywhere. That's what it comes down to. We're not going anywhere. And I know people talking about cash and all of this other stuff, but the reparations conversation is a valuable conversation. We go harder talking about who we're going to vote for versus what we're going to do and how we're going to make this a reality. If a small town, I'm going back to this real quickly, Nira, and then we got to take our next pause. But if a small town, not small, but it's a small community outside of Chicago, Evanston, Illinois, is able to say, hey, this is what we did. This is the model that we've created. Why the hell, if they funded reparations from cannabis, then what's stopping Denver from funding reparation from cannabis?
Nothing whatsoever. I think it's beautiful. I think it's beautiful for him to say that they use it to purchase homes. That is what generates wealth. Land is in ownership is what generates wealth. I think that's beautiful. I love that. I love that it wasn't given in a monetary way. I'm sorry. I hear everyone saying they want money. I just don't want to see us beg for these reparations and then end up back in the same situation because we squandered that shit. That's what I'm saying. And that's what happens too often. So land, education, I'm all for it. I am.
Folks, look, I'm all for it as well. Folks, we got to take another pause. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation. We'll also go over trends, posts, and doing the most, and a whole lot more. So stay with us. Another 30 is coming at you here on The Culture, only on the Black Star Network.
iPhone 13 on us for every customer. Current, new, everyone. To show the love.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
How about sushi?
I just had sushi for lunch yesterday.
How about tacos?
Automatic emergency braking, one of 6 advanced safety features standard on every 2022 Chevy Equinox. Find new technology. Find new roads. Chevrolet.
Who's doing the most? Tandy Newton. She's doing the most right now. If you remember Tandy Newton, she was in the show Westworld, and she went and did an interview with NPR. And the 49-year-old actress said in this interview, as she is promoting her new film, God's Country, she explained how she related to her character, citing feelings of prejudice in the industry. She said these words, folks. She said, "I now realize that my internalized prejudices were stopping me from feeling like I could play this role. When it's precisely that prejudice that I've received, doesn't matter that it's from African-American women more than anyone else. It doesn't matter. I've received prejudice. Anyone who's received prejudice feels this character." Well, what has gotten her in hot water is the fact that she apologized, saying, "I'm sorry, I'm the one chosen." She said that to dark-skinned actresses. She said, "I'm sorry, I'm the one chosen. I'm sorry that the industry always puts me out front. I'm sorry that I am the one." She went further on to say, she said, "I wanted so desperately to apologize everybody to darker skinned actresses to say I'm sorry." She said, "My mom looks like you." She's British. She said, "It's been very painful to have women that look like my mom feel like I'm not representing them, that I'm taking from them, taking their men, taking their work, taking their truth. But I do think that any woman of color, whether they're pale or whatever, they've managed to help other actors get into this business. We matter." Whenever they say that Black women who've watched a movie and it really, really, really matters to them, I just thank God that my light skin didn't stop that from happening, that it didn't cause more pain. Let me go to Nero.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing because when I think of Black actresses, she wouldn't come to mind at all.
I'm trying to remember, other than Westworld, I watch Westworld.
I mean, I've seen her in a couple of things. She's not like a Black act. Like for me, I would have thought of Viola Davis. I would have thought of Regina King. And they're all dark skinned. I'm like, shoot, like where does she come up in the list? I'm gonna Sanaa Lathan, Nia Long. I mean, if I'm if you want to go to a biracial actress, Halle Berry is the first one that I would have thought of. I mean, she's just not an actress that's on my radar for her to make this statement. I don't think she's on a lot of people's radar. I definitely don't see her as getting like those big roles, those breakout roles, whether it's in film or TV. I mean, personally, I don't even like Westworld. I tried to watch it, couldn't get into it. Tandy, whatever her name, have a seat. But you know who is doing most for Raji? I just had Nelly.
We're not talking about that situation. We're not talking about Nelly. And then the short man complex. Elijah. But colorism. I mean, I see that, and I've noticed that, and this is a whole different show. This could really be a big show. But colorism in terms among Black women is very, very real. We know it. We're in a time where light skin and dark skin are at odds with one another again. We see it on social media. We see it amplified on social media. But when a lighter skinned woman says, "I'm sorry, I'm the one chosen," it feels it doesn't feel like an apology, bro.
It's willful blindness. I don't see because I don't want to see. But colorism has a long history in the Black community, and I think any of the people that benefit from it or experience the negative side of it, mostly women, mostly Black women, they know it's the truth. We all know it's the truth. We see the music videos. We see the TV shows. We know the truth. And so the thing is, I think it's willful blindness on her part. I don't want to see because I don't want to see. She knows she's had advantages and privileges and things like that, and she doesn't want to look at that because she don't want to look at that. So it's sad to hear her say that.
I mean, by her bringing this issue up, it only amplifies the conversation. Like whatever dark-skinned friends she had now before this comment, she may not have them after this comment.
No, that's hilarious, Raji. But I will say people don't think of it from the flip side though. So I'm not, I wouldn't say I'm a lighter skin, but I'm also I'm like somewhere on the spectrum in the middle. But I grew up in a family that had a lot of darker skinned women. And honestly, I grew up hating my skin. I grew up wishing that I was darker because all of my family always was like, "Oh, you think you're cute because you're light skinned," or "Oh, you think you're all that because you have curly hair," or so it goes both ways. I will have to say that I definitely did not like my curly hair and my lighter skin growing up. I wanted darker hair. I mean, I wanted darker skin. I wanted thicker hair because that's what was around me, and I was made fun of for having lighter hair. I also have a girlfriend of mine who's dark skinned who said that she grew up being made fun of for being dark skinned. So again, we're all going through the same issues here. Whether you're on the lighter spectrum or the darker spectrum, we're all being made fun of by people who are like Black. At the end of the day, we're still Black. I should not have had to deal with so much self-hate because of other Black women, in which I did. It wasn't Black men that made me hate myself. It was Black women. So I would have to agree with that. I still deal with that. I still deal with Black women who make me feel less than, who have hurt my self-esteem. I have not had that issue with Black men as much.
Wow. Oh, she was also, Sonia, thank you so much for checking in. Sonia said, for right, she was in the Tyler Perry movie, Good Deeds. I forgot that she was in that movie.
Who watches Tyler Perry movies?
Stop it. Tyler Perry, we love you, sir. Thank you.
I'm just joking, Tyler. I'm just joking.
All right, let's go to the next story. Here's something I thought was really interesting. According to the reports, folks, this is really cool. Madam C.J. Walker's descendant has decided to relaunch her hair care line, Sarah Breedlove, which is the name of the real name of Madam C.J. Walker. She became the nation's first woman self-made millionaire more than a century ago by turning hot combs into a hot profit. Her descendant, her great-great-granddaughter, Alila Bundles. That's interesting. Alila Bundles said plans to relaunch Madam by Madam C.J. Walker, which will be a new Sundial Brands beauty and hair care line. The collection of 11 new products was inspired, of course, by Madam C.J. Walker. And according to Bundles in a statement, she said, quote, "We work together to merge 100 years of research, development, science, and technology to ensure that the products are innovative and effective as the original Walker line." She said, "This collection embodies Madam Walker's spirit of empowerment and pays homage to modern women of color." I love it. I absolutely love it. Alila Bundles. I love it. Hey, Elijah, I love it. Did I tell you that? I love it, man. We need to bring it back. What's your take
it's
on
dope. And it's continuing the history, man. In first millionaire of any woman in America. And the fact that, this is happening all through Black History Month, man. This is dope, man. This is dope. So I agree. I think it's completely wonderful, and it's carrying on a great legacy of a great woman. So,
hey, it's going to be interesting there to see how they roll out this hair care line.
I'm excited.
Because the market is mad competitive right now. Like, you got a lot of products for women and for hair, and I hope they do it for men as well. But there are already a lot of products on the market.
Yeah, there definitely are. But me, I love testing products. I will definitely be testing these products, and I will come right on here to show you guys how well they work for me. Again, all of our hair is so different. So be aware of what the ingredients are. I know for me, with having celiac disease, that's going to be a big thing to make sure that it's something that I can use in my hair. But I'm really excited, and I want to support, even if I just buy it and just have it for decoration. I'm definitely going to support. We have to support. I mean, this woman has inspired so many. Madam C.J. Walker has inspired so many Black women. I know just before the pandemic hit, one of my students, she said that when she grows up, she wants to be a hairdresser. For Black History Month, she was Madam C.J. Walker. So for the entire month, she had to research Madam C.J. Walker. And at the end of the month, she had to become Madam C.J. Walker and present on her. So again, this just speaks to our legacy and why it's so important to keep our history alive and to keep our history in the curriculum and in the classrooms for all children.
Love our new Alexa.
It's a Buick.
Yeah, Alexa.
Buick.
Alexa.
It's a Buick.
It's an Alexa. It's a Buick. It's an Alexa. Coach, that's a Buick. That's an Alexa.
The Buick Enclave with available Alexa built in.
Verizon just gave us all a brand new iPhone 13.
We've been customers for years. I thought new phones were for new customers. We got iPhone 13s too, switched to Verizon 2 minutes ago.
Ours were busted, and we still got a shiny new one.
Check it out. So wait, everybody gets the same great deal.
I think that's the point.
iPhone 13 on us for every customer. Current, new, everyone. On any unlimited plan, starting at just $35. All on the network more people rely on.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network, focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
How about sushi?
I just had sushi for lunch yesterday.
How about tacos?
Automatic emergency braking, one of 6 advanced safety features standard on every 2022 Chevy Equinox. Find new technology. Find new roads. Chevrolet.
Folks, welcome back to the second hour of the culture right here on the Black Star Network. Powerful first hour. If you haven't had a chance to check it out, let's make sure y'all take a listen as we ask the question, how much do we value life in the United States? Big conversation. And we'll continue to add to this conversation because I feel like we just hit the tip of the iceberg. But as we talk about life, let's certainly talk about family. Family planning is something that is what some would say is a lost science within various communities, including the Black community. And so today we wanted to have a discussion about family planning, legacy building, and taking responsibility in light of a story about one man whose name is Demond George. He is 34 years old, folks, and I'm not making up the details of this. Mr. George here has apparently claimed that he himself is the father of 33 children. Take a look at this. How did this come into everybody's landscape? Well, he posted a picture on his Facebook page. Take a look. Father of 33. The picture, of course, of a man sitting with 33 children or 20-something children. He said 9 of them were missing from the photo. So 24 children were sitting with him. And he posted on his Facebook page, the legend, the legacy will live forever. Now, since he posted it on his page, folks, it has not been a pretty conversation. So many people have called Demond George irresponsible. They said that he was nasty and much more in other disparaging words about his family life. Here to give us some insight into understanding the dynamics of this and how does this one situation possibly play into so many other situations of domestic life that we see in the Black community is Dr. Jacqueline Holland. Dr. Holland serves as the chair for the Family and Consumer Science Department at Morgan State University. And she's been studying family dynamics for many years, and we wanted to bring her into this discussion. Dr. Holland, thank you so much for joining us. How are you this afternoon?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. What an interesting story, right?
Very, very, very interesting. And in a few moments, I'm going to bring back my culture crew members, Lise Winnie and Iman Heath. But first and foremost, Dr. Holland, I want to share with you because Mr. George has been under a lot of scrutiny. People have really gotten upset with him. First and foremost, I'm trying to understand. I've never heard a story like this. And some people have tried to say, hey, this is a part of, that Black African tradition. Some people have went as far as to say, he's a king, so he has the power to share, to sow his seeds and all of those things. But then there's another part of me that is saying, this might be very irresponsible because there's no way that one man can be in the lives of 33 children in a meaningful way. How do you look at a situation like this?
Yeah, and I think it depends on the culture. Like I've traveled to many African countries and I've met individuals where in the village there was a dad who had several wives, but they were all there in community helping, to raise the children. But of course, the father was not there as we think of how a dad should be. I mean, he's divided, right? He can't be everywhere at one time. And I think as we read some of the religious scriptures, like in the Bible, we see evidence of, wealthy people. Think of David and Solomon, who had many wives and many children, but there's no way. We see the lack of character also in the children because they had so many and they were not able to really develop them, spend time with them, to create. And when you mention the word legacy, I think it's interesting. Legacy is what we leave behind, right? It's not always money. It could be character. Like if you're a generous person, maybe that's the legacy you leave your children. Boy, dad was generous. I appreciate that. And I'm also generous. But if you also have a legacy of how you treat people, like if you were an abuser, you weren't around, you were derelict of your duties, that's something that can follow children as well. Either a child will say, I am not going to be like my mom and dad and do that, or, hey, my mom and dad did it. I guess it's okay. I'm going to follow that as well. Right. And so I think those are things that we need to think about, like just to make the statement, hey, I have 33 kids. Look at what I'm doing. I find it, I agree with you. I think it's very irresponsible. When you think of all that's involved in raising a child, it's not just, throwing out your seed per se, right? But when that seed germinates, how do you care for it to maturity? So that it ends well, it looks well, it acts well, it makes great decisions. How do you do that when you have 33 and you can't, with different moms, and you can't be there all the time? Because I think, didn't it say that he was a truck driver?
He was and I'm not even trying to throw shade on the brother. I'm sorry. This is, he said this himself. He said, let me make sure I get this quote because I was blown away by this. He said that he is a truck driver, and he said that the women that he ended up having children with knew that he was broke. So, and I'm reason that I wanted to have this conversation, especially with a voice and expert on this like yourself, Dr. Hollett, is because we are living in a time where I think that many people are questioning the value systems of, a family life, right? Like whether you really do need a mom or a dad in the household to raise good quality, to raise good children. Whether you need a dad present, what is the role of the father? What's the role of the mother? And all of the, like, there are people, we're living in a culture where there are a lot of questions about these things. But when he said that, I'm a truck driver, these women knew that I wasn't, that he said they knew he was broke, even though despite flaunting 20 grand cash in the video and having 4 bank accounts. It's just, I'm concerned with Black men who see this and then say, you know what, that's okay. So there are women that will allow me to go out there, do what I do, to repopulate, plant my soil, my royal oats, however you want to call it. And then, I don't necessarily have to take full responsibility for them other than just in genetics and just very little. Like it's like, the lessons that to be learned from a situation like this can be very confusing, especially if you are always teaching that men should be responsible. Men should be present. Men should be financially stable for the household. If you're not financially stable, that you're at least working to get to be in a financially stable place to sustain and support your family. All of those ideas and those values are not applicable in this situation.
Right. And then the other side of that is you've had his partners, right, who have enabled him to have this mindset, because all of them were willing participants. And so we have to look at them like, what is their issue? What happened to them at a young age? Is this what they saw? Because oftentimes we become like those who we see, who we live with. How do you know how to parent? You parent like you were parented. And if there was abuse or something there, that's how the cycle is broken. And we teach a course here at Morgan called Marriage and Family Relations. And I love that class because it talks about like the whole family and how you raise children, how you have conversation, interpersonal relations. And what I love about it is that as the students go through it and we have these discussions, I say to them, you're fortunate because now you know how to break the cycle. If something negative happened in your life, now you know what's right and how to move forward. And it only takes one to break the cycle. And then we change the narrative, right? So, I just think about these young men, his sons, like what are they seeing? What's going into them? Will they do I'm going to be just like my dad. Hey, my dad thought it was okay. And we know from our history that we've had periods in our history where women were beaten up by men, within the home. And it was like, oh, it's okay. But we know it's not okay. But it's not until you get out and learn how you should be treated, then you're like, okay, I'm not going to allow this person to do this to me anymore. I have the power to make a different choice. I don't want my children to continue this generational whatever, practice. I want them. And then I think about his daughters, right? Because
he got a lot of them too, Doc.
He has a lot of them.
He got a lot of girls in his pictures.
Yeah. And so what does that say to his daughters, right? It's okay for me to have relationships with a man and they not be, do their part. I have to take care of the children. And, I go back to this whole thing again about our parents. So we know Billie Holiday, if you've ever seen that movie, I think it's The Government Against Billie Holiday or whatever, who's from Baltimore, right?
Right.
But as a young girl, she saw her mom being abused. She saw her mom being a prostitute and her mother pretty much, and she saw her mom being abused by men, like physically. So growing up, and as she becomes an adult, guess what? She's abused by men physically because she thinks that's how it's supposed to be. But what if her mom had said, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to expose my daughter to this. I think Billie Holiday would have been different. She's phenomenal, gifted, talented, woman, but she died young. She could have lived much longer. But it was that model that she saw that kind of like said to her, it must be okay. I see him beating my mom. My dad has left me. And so, hey, this is a life I know, and this is how I'm going to live it.
Let's bring my culture crew back into this conversation. Two dynamic women on this. Iman Heath, who is an entrepreneur and activist. Lise Winnie, who is the host of Millennials Anonymous podcast. I don't even know where to start with this because as I'm Dr. Holland, I'm gonna be on, and you know what? As much as some people, it's easy to make judgments, right? Yeah. It's easy to be like, oh my gosh, he's crazy, or you might be on the other side and be like, well, that's what men do. That's what we're supposed to do. We can't boom, boom, boom. It's easy to make those type of judgments, but this is indicative of a very real problem. The fact that you said something, Doc, that I am truly, truly happy that you mentioned, which is that you have a class in college at a HBCU that teaches about the science of marriage, that teaches about the science of relationships. And that is, and I've been taught, Dr. Holland, that is one of the lost sciences, the science of mating. We in the Black community, at one point, we used to know how to pick our mate when we lay down with someone, especially having a child with someone. Now, that's not the case. So to be taught that in the college setting, to say, no, marriage ain't just about love and all these good feelings. Like there are this is a science. Yeah. To drive it home to people, to young men and young women, You have to make these decisions and take them seriously because they can literally affect the rest of your life. I love that. I just wanted to say that to you, that I appreciate having those conversations because I don't think we even have those. We don't have those discussions in the house.
Yeah.
We don't have those discussions in the house. Lisa, what's your take on Iman?
I mean, well, this is a quite interesting story, but like you said, it's not unusual. I mean, to have that many children, maybe, but we've seen this happen where you have multiple, like even with Nick Cannon, that started a whole conversation. I think he has like 8 children with 9, like another one on the way, and different mothers everywhere. And so we've had this conversation before. So I think it does bring into the account that I think what a lot of people aren't talking about is if you have any type of genetic issue and you're passing this down to all of these different people, that's something that we also have to think about. And where do they live? Do they live in a small town where you perhaps could mate with your brother or sister and not really know because you're not as close to them if you see them only once a year or once every couple years? Like that's a lot that goes into this that I think that people don't always think about when they have so many children and how they're actually going to be able to care for them as well, which is something that I don't think a lot of people think about.
At least, do you think that Mr. George, in this case, do you think that he was motivated by pleasure, or do you think he's motivated by some ideology, some philosophy of his quote unquote his manhood that forced him, that put him in a place where he's like, you know what, I'm gonna have, like, what do you think his motivation was?
I mean, I can't speak for him, but it could be a little bit of both. The ideology or the thought of getting a woman pregnant might be pleasing to him, arousing to him. I don't know. Like, there's so many different reasons and why people feel the way that they do in certain fantasies. So it's possible that he was thinking about his legacy when he did that, or it's possible maybe he just wanted to be pleased, and this was the excuse that he gave when people asked, "Why do you have so many children?" Which is interesting.
And what about the women?
Yeah, and they're just left out to dry, and then accepting.
Well, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, and that's the other part, Iman. If I'm not mistaken, I believe there are 9 mothers. 9 mothers. He said it in his Facebook book. He kind of like tagged them and shouted them out in his Facebook book. And I'm saying, and I'm asking this question with all due seriousness: what is a woman thinking when she comes in contact with a man? Either she's not asking him the right questions about his family life, his past. Something is inherently wrong. But what is a woman thinking when she gets to lay down with a man that he said, "Yeah, baby, you know, I got like 22 children."
I would.
And I'm not saying that that's the way you think, Iman. Don't
right.
I'm just trying to understand from a woman's perspective.
From my perspective, I'll say from what I have seen within my community of people is women chase this feeling of having a man. It's a feeling of just having a man there, or having a man that can do something for you, or you may think because he has all these children, and if he plays the paint the picture that he provides for all of these children, if he has 22 children, he has to have some type of money. He has that type of stability for him to have all of these children. And
he's a truck driver. And let's keep it real. You can make 6 figures as a truck driver.
You can, and
you can make 6 figures as a truck driver.
For that woman,
but you on the road.
Money. Yeah, you're on the road. You won't be there to take care of those 22 children. You don't have the time to take care of those 22 children. So maybe for a woman, it's just to have somebody there. I honestly don't know. I can't imagine dating someone that has more than 5, and that's pushing it. So
But I think Iman is onto something. I think it's pick me culture. It's like I'm desirable. Like somebody wants me. And it makes them feel good because somebody wanted them, and they're not thinking that, I'm going to have this baby and he's going to leave me. And then a lot of women I can change him. He left them, but I can change him. He's going to stay with me. And they have this thought process, and it doesn't work out like that. But I think a lot of it is just to be desired, to be desirable.
Yeah.
I have a
And
question for Dr. Holland.
So
yeah, I was going to say, going back to me in my, as I've lived and, worked with all kinds of people, it's something that happens to that child. Okay, you look at an adult, right? But what, like Faraji, what was 5-year-old Faraji? What happened to him? Or 11-year-old? What did he see or what experience that he believes this, right? So even for those women, what did they see? Did they see their mom abandoned? Did they see their mom doing that? Because in my head, there had to be a role model. There had to be a model for them to say, this is okay for me to do it. I did some research because I was looking at how much does it cost, to raise a child a year. This is from USDA. 272,000 from 0 to 18. You multiply that by 23, that's $144 million.
Wow.
To raise.
And that's
those.
just 23.
I get 23. I thought it was 23, 33. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go back to it. He a truck driver. You're not, and I mean, I'm being of all due seriousness, Dr. Holland, Iman, at least. Like, he is not going to be able to financially take care of these children. We know that. So the mother, that burden is going to once again fall on the shoulders of a black woman.
Or
we
us,
understand that.
Taxpayers, the mothers and taxpayers. Yes.
Because see, if one of the 9 mothers or one of the ladies, one of the sisters say, you know what, I can't handle this, let the government take care of it. Are we allowed? You know what? Let me stop this. Let me before we get into this part of the conversation.
Let's go get that part. My question was going in that direction. Go ahead, Faraji.
Because now watch how the conversation changes when we have to pick up the pieces for somebody's decision, whether you think it is an honorable decision or a reckless decision. We're paying for that, and that is the hard part. It's like, okay, I can pay, I get it, 1 or 2 children, 3, 5, 6. I know people that had 8 or 9. Nick Cannon can afford that because he's, that's the type of work he's doing. But if you got 33, and I don't know, Dr. Holland, if this is a word, if this is like structural family abuse, even though his hands are not being put on him, even though he's not saying disparaging words to him, but you brought a child into a circumstance that you can't sustain. Therefore, you make them vulnerable. I'm getting upset. I gotta take me a break. I'm getting upset. I'm gonna take me a quick pause. When we come back, we're gonna get more conversation. Get your comments on it. Stay with us. It's The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Love our new Alexa.
It's a Buick.
Yeah, Alexa.
Buick.
Alexa.
It's a Buick.
It's an Alexa. It's a Buick. It's an Alexa. Coach, that's a Buick. That's an Alexa.
The Buick Enclave with available Alexa built-in.
Into the bins over the window seats. These are the only bins that will accommodate larger rollerboards.
They put 10 in here?
10, and you don't come out till you die. And you eat him, you hoop 10.
Oh my God.
So what?
How about sushi?
I just had sushi for lunch yesterday.
How about tacos?
Automatic emergency braking, one of 6 advanced safety features standard on every 2022 Chevy Equinox. Find new technology. Find new roads. Chevrolet.
Folks, welcome back to the show. We've been talking about the story of a black man by the name of Damon George, a 34-year-old who is the father of 33 children, folks. He's not running away from it. He's not hiding. He is claiming 33 children. Keenan, let's show it. This is just some of them. Look at the little girls here. I want y'all to really look at this. Look at the faces. And he posted this picture on his Facebook page, folks. And just look at the precious little girls here and the little boys. Now, he said even in this picture, there are 9 children that are missing that couldn't make the photo shoot, that couldn't make the family gathering. This man has 33 children. He himself has said that he was broke, even though he has a job, he has 4 bank accounts, but it opens up the conversation about family planning, and it opens up the discussion about whether this is legacy building or lack of responsibility. We've been having a dynamic conversation with the chair of Family and Consumer Science Department at Morgan State University, Dr. Jacqueline Holland, along with our culture crew members, Lisa Winnie and Iman Heath. I think the big thing, I had to calm down. I really had to calm down, Doc, because that level, and I spoke about, I don't know if there's anything like structural family abuse, where again, you're not hitting on your children. You're emotionally abusing them, but by them coming into a circumstance that they can't get the full benefit of your presence, by them coming into a circumstance where they can't get the full financial support that you need just to be there, just being a good father. I mean, can that be seen as some level of neglect, abuse? Can we see that, or am I going too far in thinking that, Doc?
Oh, I'd say that's definitely neglect. Child abuse is not always physical, right? It's also emotional as well. And yeah, like mom and dad need to be there. Now, there's some situations where that doesn't happen and people choose to adopt, single mom, single dad, but in a responsive way. And I think that's what we're kind of getting around. That's what we're talking about. To me, it's responsibility. How can you really be responsible in a good way? Because it's not just, as I said, not just having the seed, but being there to see the seed develop, being there when there's tears, when, they've been abused by a man, like you, Faraji, you have a daughter, you would not tolerate that. You would have a conversation with her, right? And often, some of my friends, and I say this to my nephew too, and his wife, they both have a boy and a girl. And I said, Jeff, you need to date your daughter so that she knows how she should be treated by a man. And Ashley, you should date your son so that he knows how to treat a woman, right? And we've gotten away from that. And our children don't know. So therefore, they accept anything. And I go back to these women, or to the man, like what was the model that was in their life that led them to make these kind of decisions that they're now impacting another generation?
Absolutely. Lisa, you got a question?
I do. So Dr. Holland, I know we're talking about traditional families, but isn't there a way, or is there a way to take a blended family, because basically that's what this would be, and still raise really healthy, strong relationships or children that have good character?
Right. But I think with the gentleman that we're talking about, is he there? Yeah, for sure. Blended families, definitely. But you still need that commitment, of both parties being there. And not just monetary, but emotional, to talk to see how they relate to each other, as a married couple. And I don't think those children will see that.
And that's the other point about this too, Dr. Holland. He's not committed, and I'm saying in the institution of marriage, he's not committed to any one of the women that have that bear his children. So talk to us about, what possibly is going on there. He's had these children with these different women. He's not married to them. He's not committing himself to them. So he's just out there as a man, as a sperm donor. Right. But it's like it gets to be very, very messy. And if he was married to any one of his mothers, I would be like, okay, all right, there's some structure coming into play. But because he's not married, it speaks about whether this is an ego thing or whether, you know what I mean? Like, is there something underneath? Is there some crazy ideology that he may be, that he may have about himself and about his worth and about his seed and all of those things? Because you're not committed. You're not committed.
And that's why I was saying before, I think you had mentioned this as well. We look at this man who's an adult, but what happened before this time that led him to have this philosophy? And that's what we need to go back and understand. Like, I would love to have a conversation, not condoning or not getting on him, but trying to understand, help me to understand what happened to you as a child that you feel like this is what you would like. This is a legacy that you would like to leave, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Were there friends? Is this typical for many of your uncles or in the neighborhood that you grew up, your community? That's what I would love to, because we are products of our environment, our families and all of that. And I like what you said before. You didn't want to judge, but help me to understand. I may not agree with you, but help me to understand why you feel this way.
Yeah, and I think and I think that we're at a cultural point, Dr. Holland, Iman, and Lise, where, and they in this article about Mr. George, they had quoted a Twitter user, and this Twitter user said, quote, "That's why kings had multiple wives. Man's seed was to spread, and that statistic tells that this year alone was the lowest birth rate in a generation. So kudos to him and Nick, which is Nick Cannon, for repopulating the earth."
Who said that and why?
This is a Twitter user who read about the story, and he reposted the story and added his own view of it. And what I'm trying to get to is we're getting into a very interesting space, I think, about Black manhood and womanhood, especially Dr. Holland, where, of course, as Black men, we see a lot of brothers calling each other kings. Yeah, king, yeah, king, yeah, soldier. We using that term now, right? And now it's like the terminology that we're using opens the door for this idea, well, if I'm a king, therefore I can do whatever I want without any repercussions, no consequences. If I'm a king, nobody needs to hold me accountable. If I'm a king, I can plant my seed anywhere. And therefore I'm building my kingdom. And it's like, how do we make sure that we don't fall into that space where we in our redefining ourselves, that we don't lose contact with the importance of responsibility, the importance of being a stable person in the larger system of family and community. How do we reconcile that?
Are you asking me?
Yes,
or
ma'am.
Anybody? It's open to anyone.
I can start with you. With you, Doc.
And it goes. I think we need to be teachers, and I go back to the whole thing about be fruitful and multiply, first of all, that was said to Adam and Eve when there were no people, right? but the two of them. And so people take things out of context. But then I also think that there's a place for the elders in our community, to teach the younger ones and to be that role model that they can show that what it should look like. And then if it's not there, I wish, always said, I wish everyone had to take a course on parenting, right? Like when you get pregnant and you know that you're going to deliver, you're going to be a parent, it should be mandatory. I mean, you have to have a license to drive, right? You have to have a license to practice law or to be a doctor. Why isn't it that no one has a requirement to be a parent, right? It happens so easily, but no one
so easily,
knows
Doc,
how to
so
do it.
easily.
Right.
Right.
And it's not that much to just have a course, just some basic things, about parenting and engaging and, like the interpersonal relationships and things like that. And it would be so easy to do. I keep saying, if I were president, whatever, in Congress.
But why?
That's the missing link. We need education. People need to be educated on that.
And so, I mean, why do we push back on it? Because I'm a huge advocate. If we had, and like I said, going back to the point that I made earlier about, having these conversations in a college setting, hell, we might even need to have it in a high school setting, right? Mm-hmm. And then, by the time they get to college, there's some new stuff that's added. But it seems like people want to assume, like everybody assumes that they are all right. Mm-hmm. Right. And I've came to and I think Lisa and Iman, y'all will probably, I've came to the realization as I've gotten older, I'm not all right. I'm there's some things I really need to have worked on with me. Right. Yeah. And even in my parenting, my wife and I, we talk about it often, we kind of do like this scorecard for the day to figure out, did I make the right decision? Did I handle that moment correctly? You know what I'm saying? Because I know that we're not all right. And I hate to come across parents that act like they got it in the bag. Like, oh, I know exactly what to do in a situation. And then when you hear it, you're like, oh my God, I am so sorry for your child.
Yeah. And see, the beauty of that is that you and your wife are partnering, right? Like you're having a conversation because she may say, well, babe, I think you were too hard on them. Like,
right.
You can bounce things off of each other. You kind of balance in that way. But like these women who have these children, who do they have to balance that off with? Who do they have to share some of that pressure? Because parenting is difficult. It's not for wimps, right? I mean, it's hard work. And that's why, to me, I think, why don't we require just a basic class so people go in knowing, what to expect and not to expect them to be all of this when they can't. They're not there yet, physically, emotionally, cognitively.
Iman, you are so quiet. I could tell you don't have no children yet.
I've been fortunate enough to be able to be a witness. So I have been, and all I can say is I agree. Like I couldn't imagine having a child right now. Like not at this time. But for Dr. Holland, just a quick question: what do you think is causing this push or narrative that Black women, we don't need men? I hear particularly from Black women that I don't need a man for this, I need a man for that. And you talked about the science of mating. Mm-hmm. No one thinks about that. So what do you think is pushing this narrative that, or what's pushing it psychologically in us, this narrative that I don't need a Black man, I don't need a man, I don't need a man?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't really know. Part of me, and I think about our history, right? Generations of being enslaved. And some of what we believe now is because of what was deposited into us, during that time of separating families, selling off the dad, even into the 60s and, making it easier for the woman to get welfare when the husband is not there. It's some of it, I think, is generational, and that we don't even understand why we're saying that. Some, I think, is what we grew up with, because I grew up in a single home. My mom would say, all men are dogs. And I was thinking, all men? But that was her perspective because of the way she was treated, because of decisions that were made and that were regretted. And now here I am, right? And I wonder, like, even with these women, will they be that way? Well, at some point, and then their children will see that, and what will they do about that? And then I believe too that some of these children will not respect their dad because he wasn't there.
And that just adds to the cycle that we're trying to break out of. More children, resenting their father, more children possibly resenting their mother for laying down with the man without making, without thinking the decision through. And that's the heartbreaking part for me, Dr. Holland. The heartbreaking part is when these children get to an age, and it looks like, Akina, show that picture one more time. I mean, he has a number of other pictures, but show this picture one more time, brother. Like, I'm looking at the brother on the end. He looks like he's about 14, 15 years old, right?
And he's tired of babysitting. He is fed up.
Right. He got that look on his face like, man, I don't want to be here. My dad is out here. And I mean, I know that around 14, 15 years old, Dr. Holland, I became so critical of my dad and his decision making, right? And I remember telling myself when him and I would have arguments or disagreements, I would say, I didn't say this to him. I didn't say that to him. I would say it to myself. I ain't making decisions like that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I love my dad. My dad is still around, thank God, and he's about to turn 75. I love my dad. But I know that it was around when I was probably like 13 or 14 years old that I started to make decisions. I am not going to be like my dad in this respect. You know what I mean? I'm not going to follow his way. And that's the part that affects me when I see these children, that those boys are going to be like, yeah, I love my dad, but this dude was reckless. Or this guy, he really, how can he say he respect women and he laying down with this person? I mean, you become very critical of your parents in that age. And so that's the part that I'm thinking about as well.
Yeah. And again, what kind of parent will he be? Or as you said, will he be so resentful then he's bringing that into a relationship? Right. Maybe taking it out on his partner. So many dynamics that we don't really think about at the moment. The passion, we don't think about that in the heat of the moment,
And so what, for this is such a big conversation, and there's still a lot of unanswered questions. What do we do? How do we start to repair some of the big damages that has been seen? Like millions of, I'm sure a lot of people have seen the story. If they haven't all now, they will see the story. And I want to, what do we walk away from this story? What are some of the big lessons we need to learn from this, Dr. Holland?
Well, I think, for every situation like that we're reading about, I say put out the positive, put out the one like you and your wife and what you're doing. And yeah, I have a friend who had 8 children, but guess what? They were there. They were supportive. They worked together. They talked about. So I think to put up another example of, we have a lot of children and this is how we're making it work. Yeah. That I think, and that's a positive way, right? So we're not saying not to have children, but we're saying to do it responsibly. Think through, do I have the finances? Do I have the millions that's required to give them, a quality of life?
She said millions. I don't know if I'll ever. wait a
I did
minute.
make an error with my number. It was 9 million, but that's still a lot. That's still a lot. That's a whole
9 million. Okay, so it's $272,000 per year per child.
per
And
child.
if you
No, for the
if you
life
multi-
from zero to 18.
and so really, Doc, that it could be more money because you ain't ending your parenthood at 18.
Correct. And then what if children have special needs? Like, we don't know, are any of these children special needs that they need extra something?
Ooh.
We haven't even factored that in.
Lise, that's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money. It's a whole lot of money. So I think that's something that you do need to think about when you're having all of these children. And I also don't want it to get lost either that I guess when we're talking about two parents, it doesn't necessarily have to be man and a woman. Could be just two parents.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Correct.
As long as there is and I know that family dynamics has changed greatly in this country, but if you have caring, loving adults in the household
Mm-hmm.
who understand the children that they have, whether they're adopted children or biological children or from blended families, like creating an atmosphere that is going to encourage the growth and development of a child, then that's what parents are supposed to do, right? Like that's what we're here for. But I still think that, you know, this type of story can get so. I mean, you're probably going to go on, if you were going on social media, there's going to be conversations about male-female relationships to, you know, money conversation to, you know, what it means to be a father. And I've been a part of all of those discussions in many different ways over the years. And I'm learning that when it comes down to having a child or having a family, that needs to be an intentional decision. That cannot be haphazard, coincidental. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm a roll of dice. I hope this person becomes a great dad. Like, I just, you know. I ain't say nothing wrong.
Just playing it. I can't say that I play.
No, because I'm tired of hearing stories. Look, I'm tired of hearing stories, horror stories of women and men who chose the wrong person to have their children with.
Mm-hmm.
It's one
and
of the
then
best
you get on
forms of
social
birth control, I promise you.
Right. Look, let me tell you. Then you get on social media. You get mad. My baby father ain't, and my baby mother ain't, and all of this stuff. And it's like, no, wait a minute. Hold up, man. Hold up. You weren't thinking about that when you saw her in the club that night. You weren't, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? And I get it. Not passion. Doc, you said it. You get in the heat of the moment and all of that. You know what I mean? You're like, oh my gosh, she the sexiest, or he the finest thing I ever seen. And then you wake up next to this dude. Yeah, I got like 24 other children. Yeah. Now what you gonna do?
You better be away to Walgreens.
And then the crazy part, go right back to him and be like, well, I mean, you here with me. So, I mean, ain't nobody gonna take
At the end of the day, he come home to me.
At the end of the day, he come home to me.
Oh my gosh.
It's just a cycle that keeps going.
Yeah.
That's that Ray Charles thinking. You know, leave the road out there. Don't bring the road home. It's
so
sad.
I think someone put in the chat box, Papa was a Rolling Stone. I saw that in the box.
Yeah, Papa was a. I mean, you know,
you're
rolling
at this point.
I mean, he ain't just rolling.
He's swiftly gliding.
He's doing other things. But I mean, with all due seriousness, this is such a serious situation, Dr. Holland. Mm-hmm. And I'm really happy that you were able to join us today for this. And I, you know, can you give us at least one resource that you think of, whether it's a book or website, something that you think will help us to make better decisions when it comes to family planning? I'm an advocate of family planning. Some way that we can go as Black people, that we can we can kind of start feeding on to have a better understanding of the importance of this dynamic?
Yeah, that's a good question. I know that Planned Parenthood has a lot of, helpful resources out there that, people can use. And I am happy to do a little bit more research and send it to you.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
that you could put it on your website or have something there that people can go to get some very good resources.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. Dr. Jacqueline Holland, who serves as the chair of Family and Consumer Sciences at Morgan State University. Dr. Holland, it's always a pleasure. We'll certainly bring you back for other discussions, but thank you so much for your time with us this afternoon.
Thank you.
iPhone 13 on us for every customer. Current, new, everyone. To show the love.
How about sushi?
I just had sushi for lunch yesterday.
How about tacos?
Automatic emergency braking, one of 6 advanced safety features standard on every 2022 Chevy Equinox. Find new technology. Find new roads. Chevrolet.
do.